If you've ever brushed off a good morning message as just polite routine, you might be missing one of the most underrated tools for emotional connection. That simple greeting has the potential to spark something powerful, something that keeps him thinking about you from the moment he wakes up to the moment he falls asleep. On the flip side, it could also quietly push you into the background, into that mental space where names fade and messages blur together. Think of it like flipping a coin. Heads, you're the first thought on his mind. Tails, you're just part of the noise. But what if you didn't have to leave that to chance? What if every word you sent was intentional? What if your good morning message didn't just say hello, but stirred something deeper, triggered curiosity, emotion, imagination? Carl Jung, the legendary Swiss psychologist, believed that words aren't just letters strung together. They're symbols, and those symbols carry weight. They unlock parts of the unconscious mind that logic can't reach. Once you start seeing messages this way, everything changes. A good morning isn't just a greeting, it's a tool to connect, to spark, to become unforgettable. Here's the truth. Most women fall into the same messaging trap. They send safe, polite, generic texts. The kind that read, "Good morning. Hope you slept well. Have a nice day, sweet, sure." Memorable? Not even a little. Messages like these don't provoke emotion. They don't raise eyebrows or make hearts race. They're the text version of elevator music, pleasant background noise that no one actually remembers. Why does this happen? Because the focus is on being nice, not on being emotionally resonant. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Jung would have agreed. A message isn't powerful because of its literal meaning. It's powerful because of the emotional reaction it creates. So today, we're flipping the script. I'm going to share 7 good morning messages that do more than just greet him, they reach him. These are designed to light him up emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. Messages that stay with him through meetings, meals, and quiet moments in between. If you've ever hit send with your heart pounding, only to be met with silence, not even a scene, you know the sting. But maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was the message. See, generic messages are emotional cul-de-sacs. They go nowhere. Think about it. If a stranger came up to you and said, "Hey, how are you?" would that really grab your attention? Probably not, because there's no depth, no reason to lean in. No spark. Worse still are the messages that come across as unintentionally needy. Like, "Good morning, handsome, hope you have an amazing day. I'd love to see you soon. Sorry if I'm bothering you. Just wanted to say hi." Now, it might seem sweet on the surface, but let's decode what he actually hears. "I'm giving you all my energy, all my attention, and you don't have to do a single thing to earn it." That kind of energy doesn't pull him closer, it pushes him away. Jung talked about how we unconsciously project our unmet needs onto others. We think we're connecting, but sometimes we're actually repelling. If your vibe says, "I'm here, waiting on you," there's no mystery, no emotional tension, no reason for him to lean in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A person's worth is measured by what they bring to others." And when it comes to messages, if you're not bringing any emotional value, you're forgotten before lunch. So how do you flip that? How do you send a message that makes him stop scrolling, feel something, and think of you the rest of the day? There's a formula. You need to tap into emotion, curiosity, imagination, and connection. It might be as simple as, "You won't believe what I dreamt about you last night. Something hilarious reminded me of you yesterday. I'm still laughing. Something incredible made me think of you this morning, and you'll never guess what it was." These messages stir something. They plant a seed. They open a loop in his brain that he needs to close. And the best part? You don't have to chase him, because now his own curiosity is doing the work for you. Let's get into the first powerful message. 1. The mystery message. This one's all about intrigue, because when you reveal everything up front, you lose the magic. Ever watched a movie trailer that spoiled the ending? You lose interest before it even starts. Jung believed that what's unclear, what's hidden, grabs the unconscious more than what's obvious. Mystery fuels the imagination. And where imagination goes, attraction follows. So here's a message you can try. "Good morning. You won't believe what I dreamt about you last night." Why does it work? Because the brain hates unresolved information. When you open a loop like that, the mind has to close it. What did she dream? Was it romantic, funny? Was it about us? Just like that, you've taken up space in his mind. Golden rule: don't explain right away. Let his imagination do the heavy lifting. When he asks, reply with something like, "It's too interesting to explain over text." Want to guess? You're not just messaging, you're creating an experience. And in the end, people may forget your words, but they never forget how you made them feel. Point 2. The message that touches his heart. Surface level conversations might fill a day, but they never leave a mark. If your messages don't connect emotionally, you'll become just another person in his inbox. Have you ever talked to a guy and felt like nothing really stuck? Like the words floated, but never landed? Jung once said that repressed emotions don't disappear. They resurface often in ways we don't expect. In relationships, emotion is the invisible thread that holds everything together. A message that opens that emotional door might be, "Good morning. I hope today brings you tons of success. What's your biggest dream right now?" This isn't small talk. It's an invitation to go deeper. Everyone, yes, even him, wants to be understood. And when you're the woman who gives him space to open up, who listens and really sees him, you become unforgettable. Here's the key: when he shares, don't interrupt, don't downplay, don't make it about you. Validate his dream. Celebrate it. Say something like, "That sounds amazing. What made you fall in love with that idea?" You've just stepped into a deeper space with him than 90% of other people in his life. Because the woman who touches his heart doesn't have to fight for attention, he wants to give it to her. 3. Spark his imagination. If you can get him to imagine something with you even just for a second, you're already one step closer to winning his emotional attention. Ever had a conversation that lingered in your mind for days? One that made you smile out of nowhere, hours or even days later? That's the power of imagination. Jung believed fantasy and creativity were bridges to the unconscious, and that's exactly where real desire begins. Words aren't just communication, they're transportation. They carry us out of the ordinary and into the emotionally rich, symbolic world of feeling. A well-placed message can take him there, with you right in the middle of the vision. Try this: "Good morning. If you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you be?" Instantly, his mind starts painting. A quiet beach, a rooftop in New York, a jungle trek in Costa Rica, and as he imagines it, you're there, right beside him in that mental picture. Why does that matter? Because the emotion he feels during that imaginative moment becomes unconsciously associated with you. You're no longer a message on a screen. You're part of an experience in his mind. And here's a trick most people overlook. When he responds, don't shut the conversation down. Build on it. If he says Paris, don't just reply nice. Go deeper. I can totally picture you walking down Montmartre with a croissant in one hand and a novel in the other. Do you speak French? See the difference? You're taking his fantasy and layering it with emotion, texture, intimacy. You're helping him paint a richer picture and placing yourself inside it. That's not just conversation. That's connection. Because the truth is, it's not about the place. It's about the feeling. And whoever creates that feeling becomes unforgettable. 4. Awaken his curiosity. Curiosity is like emotional gravity. Once it's activated, it pulls and pulls hard. Think about it. Has anyone ever said to you, "We need to talk," and suddenly your brain went into overdrive, trying to fill in the blanks? That's the kind of emotional hook you want to create, but with a positive twist. Here's a message that taps directly into that energy. "Good morning. I just remembered something that made me see you differently." Boom. His brain is now spinning. What did she remember? Is it good? Is it bad? Is she about to confess something deep? Curiosity is lit. And now you have his full attention before he's even had his coffee. Jung described the collective unconscious as a shared space where emotions, symbols, and desires live across all people. Messages like this tap directly into that space. They create an open loop, a mental gap he can't close until you give him the missing piece. But here's the golden move. Don't fill in the blanks too soon. Play with the suspense. If he asks, "What do you mean?" Try this: "I'm not telling you just yet, but trust me, you're going to want to know." That little delay, that mystery, it's addictive. You're not just chatting, you're running the emotional rhythm of the interaction. And whoever controls the rhythm controls the connection. Remember, people chase what they can't fully grasp. Jung said that the unseen, the hidden, often becomes more powerful over time because it stirs our unconscious desire to uncover meaning. Want another message that uses the same psychological trick? "Good morning. Something wild happened last night and it made me think of you. I'll tell you later. It works instantly. He reads it and suddenly, he's invested. What happened? Why did she think of me? Was it funny, romantic, intense? You've opened a window but only a crack. He can't see in, but he knows there's something on the other side. That's where the magic lives. When he asks again, and he will keep the suspense alive. Not sure I should tell you yet, but I've been smiling about it all morning. Now, instead of just reading a message, he's emotionally entangled in a little story one you control, and that creates a deeper bond than any emoji ever could. This is what Jung meant when he said that what remains hidden gathers symbolic weight. The things we almost understand become magnets for our thoughts. Desire, curiosity, emotional connection, they're all heightened by a sense of mystery. 5. Revive emotion through nostalgia. Let's shift gears now from curiosity to nostalgia. Because the past, when touched gently, it can be one of the most emotionally powerful tools you have. Have you ever heard an old song and instantly felt all the emotions from a specific moment in time? Maybe it was a road trip, or a lazy Sunday morning, or a moment of laughter so deep your face hurt. Memories aren't just thoughts, they're sensory. They have taste, color, sound, and texture. And when you help someone relive a beautiful one, even if it's imagined, you connect straight to their heart. Try a message like, "Good morning. I was thinking about that time we went to the park. It was such a perfect day. What if we did it again?" This hits onto emotional levels. 1. Nostalgia. You're bringing him back to a happy memory and all the good feelings tied to it. 2. Anticipation. You're planting the idea of experiencing that feeling again, this time in the future. Now, maybe you don't have shared memories yet. That's okay. You can still use the emotional power of nostalgia by imagining one together. For example, woke up this morning thinking about walking along a beach at sunset, waves crashing, cool breeze, and for some reason, you were there too. Boom. Even though it never happened, you've just created a shared emotional memory. And because it came from you, he'll associate that feeling with you. That's emotional anchoring. It's subtle, it's powerful, and it makes you unforgettable, not because of what has happened, but because of how you made him feel. Jung believed we carry emotional symbols from our past into everything we do. So when you tap into those symbols, whether real or imagined, you tap into something that goes far deeper than conversation. 6. The compliment that hooks him. Let's get one thing clear, this isn't about calling him hot or saying you're so handsome. Those compliments are like store-bought greeting cards. Anyone can grab one, and they all say the same thing. A real compliment, the kind that lingers, is more like a carefully chosen gift. Thoughtful, personal, specific. It tells him you see him in a way others don't. Think of it this way. There are 2 types of gifts. One could be given to anyone, the other only. Makes sense if someone truly knows you. Which one would you remember? Exactly. Compliments work the same way. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that every human being seeks recognition, but very few are truly seen. When you give a man genuine recognition, not for how he looks, but for something about who he is, you cut through the noise. So here's a message that does exactly that. Good morning. You know what I admire most about you? The way you find something funny in almost everything. It's contagious. Why does this land so well? 3 reasons. 1. It's specific. You're not saying you're amazing. You're pointing out a unique trait he probably doesn't hear about often. 2. It's sincere. It feels like it came from observation, not a script. 3. It leaves a mark. Now, every time he makes someone laugh, he'll remember you noticed that about him. That's what emotional imprinting looks like. And here's a key detail: avoid over the top. Compliments like, "You're the most incredible man I've ever met in my life." It might sound passionate, but it also comes across as a little much, especially if he hasn't earned that kind of pedestal in your life yet. Big compliments, too soon, often read as empty or performative. They can make you seem emotionally invested before he's had a chance to do anything meaningful. Instead, look for the small, often overlooked things he does naturally. Maybe it's the way he explains something with passion. Maybe it's how his whole face changes when he talks about his goals. Maybe it's his calm energy when things get chaotic. That's what you compliment. That's what you highlight. Try something like, "I love the way your voice changes when you talk about something you care about. It's like I can hear your passion." You're not just praising him, you're holding up a mirror and saying, "I see you." And that's powerful. People are drawn to those who make them feel seen in ways they didn't even know they needed. That's where true emotional gravity comes from. Jung believed that beneath all of our social masks, we carry a deep unconscious longing to be recognized for who we really are, not just who we pretend to be. When someone taps into that space, they become unforgettable. So when you notice the way he rubs the back of his neck when he's nervous, or how he always looks for the joke even in heavy moments, tell him. Because chances are no one else has. And that brings us to one of the most impactful, lasting types of messages you can send, the one that creates emotional anticipation. 7. The message that builds anticipation. This one is a game changer. You've heard the saying, it's not the destination, it's the journey. In attraction, it's not just the message, it's what happens before and after that message that makes it magnetic. Have you ever looked forward to something so much you couldn't stop thinking about it? A gift, a trip, a moment you knew was coming? That's anticipation. It turns something simple into something unforgettable. Imagine the scenario. You're sitting in your favorite cafe. You've ordered your favorite dessert, but instead of bringing it out right away, the waiter smiles and says, "We've got something special for you today, but it's a surprise." Now you're hooked. You're not frustrated. You're excited. The waiting makes it mean more. That's what anticipation does. It makes the reward feel earned. Seneca once said, "Things that come easily are rarely valued." Jung took it further, explaining that what remains hidden, what's not immediately revealed, has the power to shape our unconscious mind. In attraction, that translates to one word: tease. Here's a message that hits all those emotional notes. Good morning. I'm planning a surprise for you. You have no idea how much I want to see your face when you find out. Let's break down why this works so well. 1. Curiosity. What's the surprise? Why is she so excited about it? 2. Imagination. He'll start picturing possibilities, drawing you into his thoughts all day. 3. Control. You're holding the cards. You're now the storyteller. He's emotionally invested in what you'll say next. And here's the beautiful part. The surprise doesn't have to be anything huge. It could be a photo that reminds you of an inside joke, a song you heard that made you smile, a coffee order you remembered he loves, a thoughtful compliment he wasn't expecting. It's not about the size of the gesture, it's about the emotion behind it. When done right, even a single sentence can turn into something that replays in his mind for hours. Try this one too. I've got something for you, but I'm not telling you what it is yet. Let's just say it's going to make your day. See how the message becomes a story. Suddenly, you're not just someone who sends nice texts. You're the source of intrigue, anticipation, and emotional momentum. You're no longer just part of his routine. You've become a highlight of his day. Jung believed that the more something speaks to our unconscious, the more powerful its impact. And when you combine curiosity, anticipation, and personal meaning, you're speaking directly to that deeper layer. So now, let's zoom out for a second. You've learned how to tap into mystery, awaken emotion, spark imagination, stir curiosity, reignite nostalgia, offer real compliments, build anticipation. These aren't just clever texts. They're emotional triggers. Each one is a key crafted to unlock a part of him most people never reach. And once you've opened that door, you're no longer just someone who sends good morning messages. You're someone he feels long after the screen goes dark. First, don't overuse the magic. These messages work because they're intentional, rare, and emotionally layered. If you send one of these every single day, it loses its magic. He stops wondering, stops imagining, stops feeling. So think of these messages like little emotional fireworks, not a routine, but a surprise. Use them when you want to reignite the connection, when you want to break a silent streak, or when you feel the energy needs a spark. Less is more. Let him miss your energy. Let the silence stretch just long enough that when your message does come through, it hits different. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious craves rhythm, not noise. Consistent emotional patterns build connection, but too much stimulation becomes static. Let your emotional messages breathe. Second, match his energy, then lead. This is key. Emotional intelligence in texting is not just about what you say, but when you say it. Let's say he's in a super playful mood. He's joking, teasing, laughing in every message. That's not the moment to drop a deep emotional question like, "What's your biggest fear in relationships?" Likewise, if he's being quiet, short, or distracted, don't try to force energy into the space. That only creates resistance. Start by matching his tone and pace. Then, gradually raise the emotional frequency. If he's giving you low effort, respond with grace but don't chase. Then when the moment's right, drop in the message that makes him feel. That's what it means to lead with presence and emotional wisdom. Third, pay attention to his responses. This may sound obvious, but so many people miss this. How he responds to your emotionally rich messages tells you everything about where he is emotionally. If he leans in, gets curious, plays along, or opens up, you've struck gold. If he flatlines, dodges, or ignores the emotional cues, it's not about the message. It's about his own emotional bandwidth. This doesn't mean you did something wrong. It just means he's not ready to meet you there. And here's a powerful truth. When you become emotionally attuned enough to notice who responds to what, you stop wasting your depth on people who aren't ready for it. You conserve your energy for someone who feels it and mirrors it back. As Jung would say, you begin to recognize your own shadow and light, and you stop projecting your value onto people who haven't earned access to it. Fourth, use voice notes or videos when it feels right. Text messages are powerful, but they have limits. If you really want to take these good morning messages to the next level, try sending one in a short voice note or even a short selfie video message. Why? Because your tone, your smile, your pause, your laughter, those are all emotional textures that words alone can't carry. You could take message number 4. For example, something happened last night that made me see you differently. Now imagine delivering that in a soft, playful tone with a half smile. In your voice, the energy is completely different. He doesn't just read the message, he feels it. The most emotionally captivating messages aren't just words, they're experiences. And your voice, your face, your rhythm, all of that adds depth. So the next time you want to really make an impression, say the message instead of typing it, especially if you know he's a more auditory or visual person. Fifth, anchor your message with a personal symbol. This is where Jungian symbolism really comes into play. Let's say one of your early messages referenced a specific thing like that beach walk you imagined together. If he responded positively and you built a little moment around it, that becomes your emotional anchor. Later, weeks or even months down the line, you can bring it back with something simple like, "This morning, I saw a beach photo and thought of you again. That walk we never took, still waiting." Boom, you've just activated the memory, the imagination, the emotion all in one sentence. And more importantly, you've made your connection feel like a little storyline that lives between the two of you. Humans are wired to remember stories, and you've now become part of his. Jung often said that we live by symbols more than facts. The people we remember most aren't the ones who had the most to say, they're the ones who said something that meant something. By turning a simple idea into a recurring emotional thread, you elevate your connection into a kind of symbolic romance, one that exists beyond just logic and words. Sixth, let silence be a tool, not a threat. Here's one of the most overlooked emotional tools in attraction: silence. Not ghosting, not disappearing, just the willingness to not respond immediately, to let your message sit, to let his mind wander, to give him time to miss your energy. After sending something like, "You won't believe what I dreamt about you last night," don't reply right away. When he asks what it was, let him stew. Let his imagination work. Let him want the next piece. Desire thrives in the spaces between certainty. And if you can get comfortable in those spaces, you become the emotional high point of his day, whether he realizes it or not. Finally, become the emotion he wants to feel. This is the deepest truth of all. People don't fall in love with words. They fall in love with how you make them feel. If your messages bring playfulness when his day feels heavy, if they bring depth when everything else is shallow, if they bring mystery when life feels predictable, you become more than a name in his phone. You become the feeling he didn't even know he was craving. And once that happens, you're no longer just someone he talks to. You're someone he feels connected to. And that, my friend, is the kind of bond that no algorithm, no dating trend, no silent spell can erase. So here's your final reminder: your words have weight, not because of how clever they are, but because of the intention behind them, because of the way you hold your energy, because of the emotional space you create between every line. When you speak from that place, your messages become more than text. They become emotional blueprints. maps to a version of connection that most people never even get close to. And the best part, you didn't chase, you didn't beg, you didn't pretend. You simply understood how to speak to the deeper parts of him, the parts even he forgets he has. And that's unforgettable.